and we can, you know, answer them as we go.
Very good.
Okay, perfect. So we just here. All right, so let's go into assets and see. You can play around with this unassigned, but first let's actually go into your sandbox. Let's log into your sandbox so we can demonstrate there. And the sandbox was. You're able to log into your sandbox with no issues?
Yeah, no issues with the sandbox.
Okay, perfect. All right. So let's work with this unassigned example here. This is just an asset created by eMaint for examples for testing. So we the first thing we need to go to do is talk about the task table right here. And the task table will have all your task procedure steps. So a library of your inspection steps, of your inspections. So you're gonna, if you have HVAC units and you will have steps for how do you inspect them, you're gonna put them in here. And then these steps can be used for all your air handling units assets. So just steps that you can use for more than one asset if necessary, if it's going to be using the same steps. So let's do an example of it, of a task there. I'll click on the plus. And then the first one here is the task number. And this is this must be unique, so you can't create the same task number twice. So I'll create one for air handling units, for a monthly air handling unit. So for the monthly, I would just put ahu.m. I could put anything in here. It's a name that is going to be unique for me. It's better for the name to be, you know, symbolizes what the task is about. So what I did here is just I did the initials of AHUM for monthly, and I can create another one for the weekly if I have weekly procedures that are different than the monthly procedure for this air handling unit. And then for the brief task description, I can type in here air handling unit, spell it out, the dash monthly to you know better understand what this is about. And then you can put in here either you have two options. Either you can put the steps in here, so you can put step 1, step 2, step 3, and so on in here, and then you save it. And that's going to be your steps. And then you don't need to do anything in task procedure. But the recommended thing to do here when you're creating tasks is instead of putting your steps in here, you can put in here follow task procedures. And then in task procedures, we're going to click on add new record, and we're going to start adding our steps. So I'll say step number 1, and then here I'll do this step first. And then I hover over save new record to add the other steps, so step number 2. So just hovered over save new record, add new record. And then I'll do 2, and then here do this step second, hover over it to create my third and last step. And then I'll do this step third. And then once I'm done with my steps, I can just click on Save New Record. The reason you might want to use this better, use the task procedure here, is that you can now pass and fail each step if you wanted to. Instead of you create it here, you're not going to be able to put any comments or pass and fail anything. So in task procedure, we have the option from this window here to add other columns. So we can add, but we can do that in the later slide. Sorry, and when we're adding it in the work orders. So as of right now, just you're gonna create in the record detail, you're gonna put the task number, the brief description, and then detail description here, just say follow task procedure, and then in here list all your steps. Once that is done, the next step is we're gonna go into our assets, and we're gonna see which asset we want to create the PM for. So I'll just use the unassigned one here.
Okay.
Just put more details in here. So let's just put site 1. I'm just gonna fill out some details so we can have that maintenance. Okay. So in our assets, we're going to choose the asset that we need to create the PM. So I'll click on my asset, and then next to the record detail tab, we have a scheduled activity tab. I'm going to click on that, and this is where we're going to add or create our PMs. So I'll click on Add New Record. And then it will open up a blank form to create my PMs. My PM. I have two options. I have the calendar-based or a meter-based. Okay. Calendar-based is going to be if you want it to generate on a specific day. Meter-based is if you want it to generate on specific meter readings. So after the meter reading reads a specific number, then this work order will this PM will generate.
Okay. Got it.
Are you going to be using any meter-based PMs for right now, or just?
Yeah, there'll be some for vehicles for like oil changes. Every so many miles they'll need an oil change, something like that. So we will.
Okay, perfect. We can demonstrate that as well.
Okay.
So days to be complete. This is just for information purposes. So it's going to be, you're just going to put it here a number like 7 days, just for information purposes. And then the produced every. Here you're going to specify the how often do you want to generate this PM. So if this is a monthly work order, you're going to put 1, and then the field underneath that is called calendar-based frequency. You're going to choose here days, weeks, or month.
Day, week, month. Okay.
Yep. So if it's going to be every 12 months, you would put 12. If it's every 6 months, you put 6, and then 1 for monthly, and then you have options for weeks and days as well. So if you're going to do,
is there an option for a year?
The year you're just going to use monthly, and then put 12. Yeah. Okay. And then we have the calendar frequency type. You have 2 different options here: static and shadow. Static is going to be depending on the next PM date here. So if I want to generate this PM on the beginning of every month, so I wanted to generate November 1st, and then it will always stick on the 1st. So next time it will generate on December 1st, and then January 1st. It will stick on the 1st. And if you want it to stick on the 1st, but you don't want to do Saturday and Sunday, you can come in here and you can say skip Saturday and Sunday. So what it will do is it will look at the calendar and it will see that November, the first here is good. That's not a Saturday and Sunday, so it will generate. But if you wanted it to generate on the if it falls on the weekend, like on the 4th, November 4th, then it will skip Saturday and then skip Sunday, and it will generate on Monday. And then the following month, it will go back to that original the 4th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So if we say skip Saturday and Sunday, it's going to wait for the next Monday. If we say skip Tuesday and Wednesday, it would go to a Thursday, the very following business day.
Yes.
Okay.
That. All right. And then the other option we have is the shadow. And this is going to be depending on the previous work order close date. So if your technician closed out the work order on the 3rd, the next time this PM will generate will be on the 3rd. If then they close the work order on the 11th, it will generate on the 11th. So it's going to be depending on the previous work order close date. And it won't generate one.
Sorry, is that static or shadow?
The shadow.
The shadow, okay.
Yeah. Shadow because it's following, you know, the close date. It's going after the close date. So it's if they close it on the 4th, the next time it will generate will be on the 4th. If they close it on the 6th, the next time it will generate will be on the 6th. And it won't generate until the previous work order is closed because it depends on that date. So that's but the static will generate no matter what. So it doesn't matter if the previous work order is closed or not. It will just keep generating.
It will, yeah.
Yep. And then, and then work order type will automatically populate with PM because this is a PM. That can be changed, but there's no need since this is a PM. We want it to be PM. And then we have nesting groups. So these two go together. Nesting groups is if I have, let's say for your vehicles, you have 2 different oil changes. So 2 different inspections. You have one that is a monthly, and then you have a different one every 6 months. So the monthly would say just change oil, and then on the 6-month one, you would say change oil and then rotate tires and do a bunch of other stuff during that time. But it will also have the step that you would do for the monthly inspection. So if both PMs happen to fall on the same day, then you would want to skip over the monthly of that time and just do the annual, since it will cover the monthly inspection steps anyway. Right? So that's when you might want to use the nesting group so you can skip over the monthly and then just generate the annual or the 6-month one. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry. Yeah, can you repeat that? I didn't quite catch that.
Yeah. So the nesting group is if you have for your vehicles, for example, you can have if you have 2 PMs that will generate on the same time. One is the monthly and one is the annual. The monthly would probably say to just change the oil, right? And then the annual one or the 6-month one will say change the oil, but also rotate the tires and do other steps as well. So what you want to do is you don't want to want to have 2 work orders of the same thing, the monthly and the annual or the 6-month, since the annual will also have the change the oil in it, right? So there's no need to have an open work order for the monthly during that time. You would want to skip the monthly and just do the annual when it falls on that time.
Okay.
Do you think you're going to be using something like that?
Of course, yes. Yes.
Okay, sure. So what you need to do is So this is a monthly work order, right? We're gonna say this is the oil change one. So here, for the monthly, we're just gonna change the oil. So we're gonna create a nesting group for these related PMs here. So I'm gonna say that this is for oil change. This is an oil, or we're gonna give it a unique name for just as to be able to group them together. These PMs. So we can say, let me see. Can do. Wow, I was not typing here. Never mind. We can do vehicle inspection, right? And then I'll click on add new, and it will give it a name, that name. So the next PM that I'll create one for the 6-month one. And then in the nesting group, I'll select this name also, vehicle inspection, from the list here. So it can know that it's linking these two PMs together to be able to choose from them. So we're going to demonstrate that right now. So we're going to do this PM is for the monthly PM, vehicle inspection. And we're going to give that the monthly one from the nesting level here. We have different numbers that we can choose from. And it doesn't really matter what number you give it. The only thing that mattered that for the monthly, you should select a number that is less than or lower than the 6-month one and the annual one. So for example, this monthly one, I can give it a 1 or a 2. It doesn't really matter the number. And then for the 6-month one, we can give it a higher number. So we can do 4 or 5 or 3. It doesn't matter what number it is, as long as it's a higher number, because the system is gonna, when it starts to generate these PMs, it's gonna take a look. Does it have a nesting group? Yes, it does. Which nesting groups have the nesting group called vehicle inspections? These two have that name under that group. Which one has the highest nesting level? The annual has the highest nesting level, so I'll generate that and I'll skip the monthly.
Okay.
So this is an annual here. This is the monthly. I'll just give it a 2. The reason why you might not want to give it a 1 or a 0 is that what if you create a 1 for a weekly? You do inspection for a weekly one, then you want it to give it a 1, right? So just leave yourself some space. Like I said, it doesn't matter the number as long as it's lower than the annual one or the higher one. So I'll just choose 2 for this one. The PM group is just only for information purposes. So if you wanted to group your PMs, you can from here. So just put them into like different categories. You can, but this is just this is not a field that is mandatory to be filled out.
Okay.
And then we have the assign to type and the assign to. This is if you want to assign your technicians PMs this work order from the PM level. So if you know that this specific technician will always work on this vehicle to change the oil for it or to do this inspection step for it, then you can just assign them from right here. And then every time this PM generates into a work order, they will be assigned that work order, and an email will go to them saying that it's time for you to work on that PM. But if you didn't want to do it from the PM level, you can wait until the PM generates into a work order, and then from the work order table, you can assign them that work.
Okay. I have a question, Asma. If we want to set up, say, like an inspection round on a building, right? There's like 20 things to check and walk around the building. Is there, do we set that up as just as a PM task, or is there a special section for that?
Yeah, you're gonna create that in task, and I can show you also an example of that, how that looks like.
Okay.
Right after creating this PM right here.
Thank you.
Perfect. So from here, task number, you're gonna choose the task that we created from the task procedure. And so we can be a little bit accurate. Let's just save this one. And then we're going to go to our tasks to just change that a little bit, since this is not an air handling unit. Example here. We'll change. I'm gonna put M for monthly feed. We'll edit. I'm just making edits there so it can be a little bit realistic. Oil change. So let's go into our scheduled activity. And then this is the where is, I think we saved it. Yes, right there. So we're gonna go to that scheduled activity that we created, and we're just gonna add that task from the task library. So click on the magnifying glass. I'll choose oil change, and it will auto-populate with the brief description and the detailed description. And when I save, I'll see that also the step procedures in there. Okay, so once I save that scheduled activity, I have 3 other tabs that I can use. The first one here is the PM parts, and this is if I want to attach PMs to this, parts to this PM to just for their information purposes, or the required parts. Like, you should use this part when you're working on this PM. Like filters or the different types of oil they need to change, right? So we can actually in inventory. I know I'm jumping all over here, but I want to make sure we have the parts in here. So let's do for this one miscellaneous part. We can do this is the oil. Right, edit that. I'm just creating a part in inventory called oil, so you can have that as a live example there. Now, let's go into my scheduled activity. And then in PM parts here, we're going to add that part that is related to this, that they should use when they're working on this PM. So I'll select from the magnifying glass here next to items. I'll choose that oil part. And you can specify here the quantity you're going to be using. Okay. Go back. And then you have a part here that is linked to this PM. Like I said before, this part is not going to change the on hand. It's just there for information purposes. So it's not going to change the on hand unless they actually charge out this part. And then in PM procedures, you're going to be able to see the steps in here. And the assignments, also you can assign your technicians from here. And since you're going to be using Fluke Mobile, then make sure to only assign your technician from the assignments tab, not the assign to field. And I believe in the live, I removed that for you.
Okay.
So I'll click on here. I'll choose Eddie here to be our technician. Okay. And everything on here will carry over when this PM generates, it will carry over to the work order. So everything on here will carry over, the task procedures, the part requirements, the steps, the assignments, everything will carry over. All right. So let's save that. And we're gonna go, we have two options to generate these PMs automatically. So when it reaches the time, it will generate by itself, or you can manually generate your PMs. If you want to do automatic generates, I'll wait until the end of our implementation and I'll turn that on. And it's from your account settings here, and then PM settings, and then enable daily PM generation and email. So I'll enable that and save it, and then it will automatically generate your PMs for you. Are you going to be automatically generating them or manually doing it one by one yourself?
I imagine manually.
Manually, okay. We can make like a report or something that will send out to you saying these PMs are going to be due in this next couple of days, so you can have a reminder there to maybe be able to generate them. But if you don't want, like you just want to come to scheduled activity, you can. In the
I'm
scheduled,
sorry, was your question about like creating the PM and sending it out? If that, I'm sorry, I misunderstood then. Then that's automatic. Yes, we'd want the system to generate. Yeah.
Oh, okay, perfect. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, no worries. So I'll turn that on after, like probably during the last week of implementation. I'll turn that on. So, but if you did wanted to manually generate the PMs, you can select a couple of them and then go to actions and generate PM work orders to do it manually. Or you can go into the one you want to generate, just if you wanted to generate one of them, go to actions and manually generate that PM. And it's going to tell you that, are you sure you want to generate? And you're going to click generate. And it will create a work order automatically right now. So work order number 104 was generated. So if I go to work orders, I'll see now that a work order was generated, created from the scheduled activity. And it's right here, the last one, 104 for today's date. Everything carried over, the asset, everything carried over here. The building, the floor of the asset, in the assignments, you're going to be able to also see what technicians are assigned to this work order, and you can now make your edits if you want to. Let's see, procedures carry over. So let's do. Usually it's going to carry over by itself. We're just in the sandbox, so I had to do actions and publish it. And now it should go into here. If not, I'll generate it again. Let's see. There you go. So now we have this, and it disappeared again. Why? Weird. You need a refresh. Not my internet a little bit slow today, so maybe that's causing the issue we're gonna see right now. Let's see.
No worries.
There you go. I just needed some time. Hopefully that worked. Yep, there you go. So we can now see that we have our steps in here, and let's edit that so we can have actually see the steps description, and we can remove sequence. Okay. And we move this one up here. All right, so now we can, in work procedure, you have the steps in there, and each step has a comment section so they can write their comment, and the inspection result, they can pass and fail. So if I click on edit, I'll have the pass and fail here to pass and fail each step. So pass, nice. Pass, and I might fail this one. And then you can specify here this step failed. Okay, and then you're gonna save that, and you can write into each one here comments for your technicians when they're working on this PM. They're gonna write their comments here of if it passed or if it failed. What issues did they find? Now, like I said, everything carried over here, and they're gonna work on their procedures, passing and failing each step, and then in work order charges, they can add the parts that they use. They can click on add part to add it from inventory, directly from inventory. This opens it directly from inventory to select the part that they use. And they can also click on add quick to be able to pull over the parts that are in that were in the scheduled activity part requirements. So you're gonna click on PM only, and we're gonna be able to see here that there's this part that was recommended to be used from the PM. And then you're gonna choose the quantity. I used 1, then you add it, you save. Close that. Let's say since this oil is also attached with the asset, so let's say this PM was for a specific vehicle that we needed to do oil change for, and that vehicle is in our assets. We can also add in assets. If I click on unassigned asset here. Related parts, I can add that oil from part here. So we can know that this vehicle uses this type of oil for just as a recommendation. It's not going to affect like the on hand, like I said. And then you can put like just use one of this oil when you're working on this specific vehicle asset here. And when you go to your work order, you can on the one we're working on here, we can schedule we can charge out the parts by also clicking on add quick. And now since we added the part in assets as well, we can click on PMs and assets, and it will pull up all the parts that were a required part or a recommended part from assets and a recommended part from PMs as well. So it's going to show both in here. So everything you charge out will be added here. So we're using this part, and we used one of it. Once this work order is closed, then it will affect that part in PM. You're gonna see that it changed the on hand for this oil here. Okay. So you have the option to go to actions and close out this work order. You're going to select that part because you issued it, and you're going to close the work order, and that part will be charged. And since we failed a part, we're going to be able to see it in it will create an automatically generated a follow-up work order here, work order number 106, and the work order type is ICM. That's a follow-up for that specific field that failed.
What does ICM stand for, Asma? Do you know?
I have to remember. Corrective maintenance, inspection corrective maintenance.
Okay.
Yeah. Because it's an inspection round, so whatever steps you have in there, it will give it. It will put the previous work order that failed it here in the inspection round work order, and
okay.
If you click on it, it will take you back to that, and in here it will tell you the step that it failed and the comments that this step failed. The comments will also carry over here.
Perfect.
So right now we can create a quick example of our inspection rounds. So let's go in here, and I'll create just a couple of examples real quick. So we have, we'll do for fire extinguishers. So fire extinguisher is a good example of inspection rounds that instead of creating a work order for each fire extinguisher, you want to put all of them into one work order, right? And then generate just one work order with all the child fire extinguishers in there. So the first thing we'll do is create a parent, and that parent can be a standalone, or like it can be just a blank asset, just a placeholder for the parent. Or if you're going to be inspecting like rooms, for example, you can put that room as an asset. So for example, if you're going to be doing inspection rounds on your vehicles, and these vehicles are parked in a specific garage, and that garage you're going to be maintaining as well, like painting the floors or whatever it may be, you can create that garage as an asset and use that as a parent of your vehicles. So for this example, the fire extinguisher here, we can create it's just a blank asset called fire extinguisher master or parent, whatever you want to call it. It's not a real parent. It's not a real asset. It's just a placeholder for all my children. So we can create the scheduled activity from this parent and add all the your children with it. So first step is
like,
go ahead.
is it like creating a group? We're building a group.
Yes.
That all the fire extinguisher other ones will come under.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I can say like building one, I know I have 3 fire extinguishers in it. So the parent can be like that building one, and underneath it will be extinguisher 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, exactly. And then in the work order, it will only generate work order number 1, 2, and 3 because they are under the building 1.
Okay.
Okay. So we can actually do that. So we can do building 1, building 1. Okay. So we're going to create an asset for our building 1. We're going to save it, and then we're going to create 3 different assets for your fire extinguisher. So each fire extinguisher has its own asset. So just create them real quick. I'll do fire extinguisher 1. That's our first fire extinguisher. And then from the parent asset ID, I'll search and put in here my building, the building I created. So I'll do building, let's type it right, building 1. So this one. So for my fire extinguisher 1, I attached the parent for it is building 1. So I'll save and I'll create the other parent fire extinguisher 2. I could just create 2 for our example here. And then from the parent ID also I'll select the building 1. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So now if I do a search here under, let me do parent assets. If I do here search by building, I see that these 2 assets are under the building 1 parent asset ID. Okay. And then let's go in tasks and create the steps for the fire extinguisher. So I'll click on the plus sign. And this is where the difference comes in here. So this is good. It's recording, so you can have that video to watch afterwards. So task number, I'll say fire extinguisher, and then here fire extinguisher, and then I can specify that it's a monthly if I needed to. If not, I can just, if there's only going to be a monthly, I don't need to, or I don't need to really add it. But if there's going to be other fire extinguisher inspections, specify here if it's monthly or not. And then here I'll put the steps in here. Now when I'm doing inspection rounds for if I want more than one asset to be in my work order, then I have to put in detailed description the steps in here. So I put step 1, step 2, step 3. The reason why you have to put the steps in here that in inspection rounds is where we're going to add our assets. So the children assets. So go into add new record, and I'll do step number 1. Instead of putting the step here, I'll put the asset description for the first asset that I need to work on. So I'll choose the first asset from the asset ID, and in here I'll put the description. So with the regular task procedure, we used to put sequence 1, and then the task description, we used to put the step here, the step they need to work on for step number 1. But since this is an inspection round, we have to put sequence 1, and then the task description is going to be the asset description, and you also have to choose the asset from here. Then you hover over save new record and add new record, and then I'll add my other child in here. So I'll do 2, and then here I'll do fire extinguisher 2, and then I'll click on the magnifying glass here to find my other asset. Save. Okay, so now for my task, I have the steps in here, and in the task procedures is where I find my my assets. And let's go add the asset in here. The asset ID. Just remove detailed description. So now you have your assets listed here, so you can pass and fail each asset instead. So we have our task now created. Do you have any questions on how you create the inspection rounds?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Maybe anybody else has a question? No. Okay.
So once we create the task, we put here in the task procedure, instead of putting the steps, we're going to put the child assets here. So fire extinguisher 1, fire extinguisher 2. That's our first step. Second step is we're gonna go into our assets, and we're gonna find that parent asset to create the PM for. So that was the building right here. I'll click on building 1, and then under scheduled activity, I'll add new record, and I'll do my PM same way for that parent asset. So I'll select in here that I want to do this monthly. So once a month, or if this is a weekly procedure, then you can do once a week. So do once a month for this one. In static, it will always be on the same day, and then I'll choose to be on the 9th of the month, or whatever day we want it to generate. And then from the task number here, I will select the fire extinguisher task that we created, apply changes, and it will populate with the information. I'll save. Like I said, we can also add our parts from here, and from the PM procedures, I'll be able to see my steps, my assets in here to pass and fail. So let's generate this PM and turn it into a work order. Now work order number 107 is created. You go in here, you're going to see it created. Okay, so we're going to select that, and we're going to everything carried over. So your steps are here to follow. And then when you click on work procedures, you're going to see your assets in here to pass and fail each asset. So I passed this fire extinguisher. I failed this fire extinguisher because I found a dent or something. Right? Does that make sense? Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, that's awesome. Beautiful. Yep, exactly.
Good. All right. So and the last thing here is the meter based PMs. So we're gonna go into our assets. And let's do boiler here. Our boiler has inspection. It will depend on the meter readings for it to be able to generate a work order. So let's click on that. And that's not an accurate example, but you might. I'm just showing you an example here of how you create it. So you go into your assets, the one you want to create the meter readings for. You're going to click on meter readings here, this next tab after scheduled activity, there's meter readings. And you're going to be able to click on add new record. And then you're going to specify the meter type. So is it miles, hours, unit? What is it? So I don't know what would it be, but let's just do hours. Or we can just create one for, so it could be more accurate. Our if this was our this could be of our vehicle. You can do one for a vehicle. Let's do vehicle instead. So it could be a more accurate example. Vehicle one, vehicle one. So I just created a simple asset there for our vehicle. And then in the meter readings, I can say that I want to generate a PM for this vehicle, depending on the miles. So I'll go miles, and then you can specify here. It will pull up for today's date. And you can put the meter reading right here. So it's 70,000. It reads the mileage reads 70,000. And then you're gonna save that one. Oh, 1 second. Got to do something. Let's do. There you go. Have to add it. All right, I need to add it first. Okay, give me 1 second. Let's go into activity. All right. Right, let's go into schedule activity. Let's create a PM for it for the meter readings. So
Okay.
and under meter base, so you don't have to fill out this section here. If it doesn't have a calendar base, you can do both if it's going to be calendar based and meter based, and whatever comes first will generate. So you can skip the calendar based and do just the meter based. Right here, produce PM every, say when it reaches, let's see, you do 500, and then right here you can specify miles. So every time it reaches 500 miles, generate this this PM, and then the meter type we have running and total. Running is just like an odometer on your vehicle. It's just going to keep adding, so it's just going to be 500 and 600 and 700. It's just going to keep going up. The
Okay.
total is going to add. So if you put 500 for the previous meter readings, and then you put another like a 200, and it will add them up. 500 plus 200, 700. It will keep adding them up instead of just going up. So that's the difference there. So we're gonna do running, and then all of these tabs are going to auto-populate. So the last meter reading entry, it will auto-populate here. The last meter reading date also will auto-populate here. And these are coming, all of these are coming from your assets, from your asset meter reading. So it will auto-populate with the information. Since this is a brand new meter reading, no meter readings were taken before, that's why they're blank. There's nothing in here.
Okay.
So that's the only thing you need to add, just when do you want it to generate, how many miles, and then if it's running or total. Then you'll save that. And I think because this is the sandbox, so it doesn't have anything in there. Let me go into my demo and explain that. Give me 1 second. Okay. My internet is so slow now. What is this? It's still loading. Give me 1 second. Didn't like that I opened two at the same time. See if I go into another account. It's not letting me go into mine. All right. All right, I have to do something in my other account, but we can we can go over meter readings on our next call because my
Sure.
it's not allowing me to go in my demo account since I have this logged in. My internet is not on my side. But this is how you create the meter readings, PM, and then I'll show you next week how we add the meter readings from here.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. I apologize for that. It's still loading. I wish it was fast. But we're gonna pick up where we left off next week, and next week we're gonna talk about it's gonna be week 5. We're gonna do PMs. Sorry, we're gonna do inventory, and we can add purchase order as well in here, so we can be able to see the process of adding them into the part reorder list and turning that into a purchase order and changing the on hand from purchasing a part.
Sounds great.
All right, awesome. Perfect. And if you have the task procedures, whenever you have that done, you can send them over and I can import for you as well.
Okay. All right. And we'll do, we can do all the different sequencing, right? If we want it on the task, like the monthly, quarterly, annual, we'll do it that way, right?
Yes, yep. Let me open up here. I'm opening up the data import sheet for you so you can see. In tasks, you can see the example in here. So here we have oil, and then the brief description is oil change quarterly, and we for hours we put monthly, and then follow all the steps or follow task procedures, whatever you want to put in here. So that's the first thing in task, and you have this example, and this is your this is the data import sheet you sent me. So there's an example there for you so you can follow. And then in task procedure, you're gonna use that task number. So the task number here was oil. So in task procedure, you're gonna also use oil. So you're gonna put oil in the task number, and then you're gonna put, this is going to be your first step. So do this step first, right? You're gonna do the steps in here.
And the task number can be the same?
The task number has to be the same for your steps.
Has to be the same. Okay.
For your steps. These are all your steps that are associated with the oil task.
For that one, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So for the other one, if we have AHU monthly in here, another step for the monthly. So we have air handling unit, and then here follow all steps. Task procedure, we're going to put in here. You're going to see if you click on it, there's going to be a drop down menu. Just go all the way up, and you're going to see your steps that you can, task numbers that you can choose from. So we created the air handling unit here. Click on that, and we're going to do this step first for AHU, and then I'm going to choose it again for my second step. Do this step second for AHU, and then here you put step 1, step 2. Right? So the task ID must be the same for all your steps. So they can, when I input it, it knows that this step is for this task procedure. And this is the task procedure number 1. Make sense?
Yep. Yep.
All right. And then in the PM, you're going to choose your asset from here, from the drop down of your assets. And this one is connected from here. So if you don't have the asset in here, it won't pick it up from here, from the drop down.
Okay.
So, but you can also overwrite this asset one, right? You can overwrite here. It's going to give you an error probably, but you can still, 1 second. We can format that to be exactly the same. Let's see if that. All right. You can if you don't want to use this drop down, just create a new column in here and call that asset ID, and then type in here your assets. But it's still just create a brand new one that is not doesn't have that. Let me see this. So all right. And then call this asset ID instead. If you don't want to use, and then you can type here your assets. If you don't want to link it to this one. But the reason why you would want to link it to that one is that you want the same exact name that is in your assets list, right? So
Okay.
if we imported your assets in here and you called that 458012, you have to put the same exact name. Like building 1, you have to make sure there's no spaces in there. You have to put the same exact name. So building 1 in here.
Okay.
And it has to be capitalized. So building 1, it has to look exactly the same. So when I import, it would know that this is coming from this. We're creating a PM for this specific asset. And then you're going to put here every 1 month, and it's going to show you here examples and give you what you should put. So 1 month, and then choose static from a drop down, static or shadow. And then you're going to put here the next PM date. So I want this to generate on next month at the beginning of the month. Let's just do that. And then you can skip over this section here. If this is going to be only a calendar-based PM, you can skip over the meter-based section. And
Okay.
and then you can do skip any days. So if you wanted to skip Saturday and Sunday, click on here and set that to true, Saturday to true, and then the rest to false if you want to skip Saturday and Sunday. And then from the task number, this is where you're going to select your task that you created. So it's linking it from this task. And it will auto-populate these two fields here, the brief description and detailed description.
Clear.
Okay, perfect. And we have the nesting groups and everything here. So this is exactly the same fields as your account. It's going to be the same exact fields in there, the same name and everything. If you want to refer back to it, what is it? What should I put in there? You can. I have them created in your the example that we created. It's in your sandbox. So we have that as reference as well. But let me know. Just create a couple and let me know if you have any questions. I can definitely help on a call to help you fill out some of these and see if you're going on the right track with that.
Okay. Beautiful.
Right. Awesome. Perfect. So I'll send you an email of a summary of what we talked about today with useful links. Those links will have documents on how do you create PMs, how do you create calendar-based PMs, how do you create tasks. It's going to have step-by-step instruction, and also the nesting groups and everything. So I'll send that for you to have that with you as reference. And you have the recording for today as well if you wanted to. I forgot that we're still recording, but we can you have that as reference as well.
Terrific.